Let's get back to that breaking news. House investigators have released the transcripts of President Trump's former special envoy to Ukraine, Kurt Volker, and his ambassador to the European Union, Gordon Sondland. Garrett Haake has apparently forgiven me, and he's back here with us, having had a chance to take a look through some of it. Mimi Rocah is also back with us to give us some analysis. Garrett, I have had a very brief chance to look through these things, and it does have a little bit more meat on the bones about Gordon Sondland, which we didn't know about.
Yeah, that's right. Both of these transcripts are much more illuminating to the central questions in the impeachment inquiry than were the ones released yesterday. I've just had a chance to go through some of the summaries and myself here, and I'll tell you a couple things that jump out to me. First, that Rudy Giuliani was everywhere in Ukraine, and everyone seemed to know it. Gordon Sondland describes multiple conversations with the president, with folks at the State Department. Anytime he brought up Ukraine policy, including with the president of the United States, he was redirected back to Rudy Giuliani, that everything had to go through Rudy. On the question of those text messages, which received so much attention, where, remember, this was another ambassador had texted Gordon Sondland about the idea that military aid was being held up unfairly. There was this long break before Sondland responded. In between, we knew that Sondland had spoken to the president of the United States. Sondland describes some of that conversation here. He says the president told him, "I want no quid pro quo. I want Zelensky to do the right thing," and then essentially hung up on Sondland as if that he didn't want to get into any further instructions about that. And then when I look at Kurt Volker's testimony, two things immediately jump out to me. The first, again, Volker warning Rudy Giuliani early on that the information he was getting in Ukraine about who was corrupt and who was not, about the work that was being done there in 2016 was not credible, that Volker tried to get ahead of the bad information that Rudy Giuliani was sending back to President Trump. And then there's an interesting takeaway here. Remember, so much of the Trump administration defense of this entire episode is predicated on the idea that perhaps Joe Biden did something wrong by targeting this prosecutor in Ukraine, that Joe Biden was somehow trying to cover up for his son or protect his son by going after this prosecutor. Volker is asked about this directly, and Volker says Biden was executing U.S. policy at the time, and that was widely understood internationally to be the right policy. So again, disputing, as has been disputed in many other places, but here in the testimony of a witness who many Republicans have described as extremely credible, you have Volker saying Biden moving to get rid of this prosecutor was exactly the policy not only of the United States, but of the international community at the time. Allie, there's going to be a lot more to dig into these two transcripts. Sondland's memory in particular gets very bad the closer we get to present day about various meetings, phone calls, other things he was involved in over time. I think that could potentially spell trouble for him. He doesn't, for example, remember telling Marie Yovanovitch that she should tweet in support of the president. Doesn't remember being upbraided in a July 10th meeting at the White House for his conversations about Ukraine policy. There's a lot that Gordon Sondland seems to not recall at very inconvenient times in this deposition.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.